Welcome. I'm Glenn Anderson with the Olympia Fellowship of Reconciliation. For more than 29 years, this TV series has explored a wide variety of issues related to peace, social and economic justice, the environment, and nonviolent social change. We especially provide opportunities for the public to hear voices and viewpoints that are rarely heard in mainstream media. This month, we have a special program. We'll explore a powerful regional tradition organized by our region's Native American and First Nations tribes. In the saltwater areas and shorelines throughout Western Washington and southwestern British Columbia, special summertime events have been happening since 1993, after an earlier paddle to Seattle in 1989. Tribal members paddle traditional dugout canoes from throughout our region and converge at a location of a different host tribe every year. Two guests will help us explore the 2016 Canoe Journey, the paddle to Nisqually. Both guests are enrolled members of the Nisqually Tribe, and both have firsthand experience with this project. So I'm happy to welcome Hanford McCloud and Jeff Choke. Hanford McCloud is a member of the Nisqually Tribal Council. He has 15 years of experience with this series of annual canoe journeys, and he's active with the Leschi Heritage Foundation. Good to have you here, Hanford.
Thanks, Glenn.
And Jeff Choke is newer to this canoe journey experience, but he's doing a lot of work to make the 2016 event a great success, including feeding the participants. So that's good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Good to have you here.
Welcoming.
In just a moment, we'll be discussing the overall canoe journey movement that tribes have been organizing for more than 20 years. But right now, let's start with the 2016 canoe journey that'll come to Olympia. It'll occur during July 2016, come to Olympia, hosted by the Nisqually Tribe. Can you tell us, Hanford, something about this year's paddle to Nisqually?
Well, Glenn, the paddle to Nisqually will happen here. The landing will be at the Port of Olympia on July 30th. And so this year, as far as the journey goes, as Nisqually hosting, we'll have a celebration on our reservation August 1st to August 6th. And so.
Jeff, can you add something to the basic sense of this year's event?
Well, being a part of the family, being introduced into culture from my background, the invite to bring families from the northern tribes, southern tribes, the Canadian families, bringing that culture to our territory is a gift in a way that we cherish in our native ways right at this time. providing that culture for our young ones. It's such an honor to bring the vast variety of families into our territory.
Must be a lot of fun hosting people from around the larger family.
Participating with the Journey family here for the past 13 years, coming on, being a part of with what Hanford has brought home to Nisqually, has brought the anticipation of culture back to our historical values, our traditions, song and dance, the teachings of our ancestors, bringing them back home has been my biggest honor.
How many canoes are you expecting at this point? We're taping the program now in mid-June, and there's still a lot of planning to go. What's the estimate for how many canoes you expect, roughly?
We estimate about 110 to about 120 canoes. And these canoe families, and when we say family, it means, as far as in the community of these nations and these bands, First People, these canoe communities come together, and then the family, because you're all together with one another for 10 days or 14 days, however long it takes you to travel by canoe to our territory. So these families will come here, and other canoe families will join in later areas as they make their way down to Nisqually. So, and when I say down to Nisqually, I mean, Nisqually is the final destination, and all the destinations stops along the way are all either tribes and then First Nations coming down. So
First Nation being the Canadian term.
Up above of course the border that's there, but they'll stop off at each tribe, and each tribe will host them for the night, and then that gives them a place, especially like now it's a potlatch, and so during our potlatch system that we had here, we would send an invite out to all the bands in our area, because there were bands located down here before we were tribes, and tribes kind of that term that's been put on us, but these bands in villages in our area would answer that call, and they would come and paddle to our village, and then they would celebrate with us for the week. So this is that kind of concept that we're looking at as far as them coming.
I had a lot of fun visiting your website, www.paddletonisqually.com. I visited the website a number of times and read different parts of it, came back again, read other parts. A lot of interesting stuff. There's a map showing where the folks are coming from, down from Canada and out from the Pacific coast and around. I mean, this is a big deal.
Very big deal, Glenn. And in the last 20 to 30 years, it's gotten bigger and bigger. When it started, it was more of the smaller canoe families, and then as time come on and more tribes and nations and villages are getting involved. I mean, we got people coming as far away as New York, from the Onondaga, from the Six Nations, coming here, and far down as Southern California, that not paddling here,
right.
but they travel up, and then they'll either drop in somewhere in the Puget Sound and then paddle down, or they'll jump on a canoe family with other participants. So.
Well, because and some nations wouldn't have canoes in their culture or their geography like we do here. But it's fun to see people connecting.
Yeah, they'll come together, and some do. Some do have a smaller canoe instead of the bigger canoe.
You talk about the connection. The connection, what brings that family together historically, the event, the historical highway being the saltwater, the waterways, the traditional ways to travel, and back in the historical times, gathering, potlatching. Those are the events that have been set aside. The group that we discussed right now from the 89, from when it was first brought out by the family, what's the name, the family there? The Oliver family.
Emmett Oliver.
Emmett Oliver, when he brought it out, was to bring that back, because the values of our new families losing that. And so again, connection with the waterway, to bring that back with that canoe has grown such such good strength.
Yeah, any cultural tradition would fade out over the years as people die and new people come along that don't know it, unless there's a conscious effort to say this is important, this is who we are. Is there anything else you could tell us about the reasons for doing this? What needs you're trying to meet, or what your purposes you're trying to serve?
It's a drug and alcohol-free event that was created, like Jeff said, by these elders who wanted to make sure that we maintain this heritage and this way of life. We don't need a canoe to travel, so this canoe journey is a part of that way of life that we need to maintain, that we continue to pass on from generation to generation. And as generations get down the line here, we are losing the essence around that, I guess you can say, because of the way that social media and the cars and all the stuff that our kids have now. It's like mainstream is faster.
It's, and from what I see, it's the calling of social mapping, becoming the youngster to the eldest, seeing where you sit within that time of society with the canoe journey, because they've seen Hanford and I go through tyranny with where we come from as the family members, from the youngsters to now. They see us as the leads, and those youngsters, they feel that when we are in camp, they know Hanford's the skipper. They know he values that within the community, in the Canoe Journey family way. So when he's out there talking, discussing the timelines to be out on that water, safety is the key thing. When they see the big Uncle Jeff come through, I'm the value to where I want to make sure that the camping, the food, and everything is being set and met, because I want to make sure that their value on the water is set tradition, so when they come back onto the land, that they're taken care of, their comfort, the sick, whatever it is, to take care of that. They see it, and the youngsters see that, and they really gain a lot of trust. So bringing that back into their livelihood and then educating them, that's where Hanford has taken that value a lot further within education, with not just our tribes, but the local communities around us.
Right, and I know from having seen a number of the videos on the Paddle to Nisqually website, they'll have like videos of the singing, the dancing, and so forth, and as well as of the canoes and stuff. So it's that part of the culture. It's the whole thing that young people can
identify with. The identity there, when you show these kids of paddling as a crew, and you have the one skipper, but everyone pulling to get to one destination. If we're not all pulling together, it's not going to work. And then you teach them the songs, because the songs identify with your canoe or your people. And these songs come together during journey on the canoe, when you come ashore. So there's a lot of protocol behind all that also.
And I know that you use the term pulling. I saw that on the website, because it's not like a little canoe that you paddle a little bit. These are big canoes, and you're pulling on that. So
then you get to hear that side of the paddler himself. We do a prayer before we get in the canoe and in the water. We show that prayer, because we're pulling from one territory to the next, and you hear that. It's camaraderie. It's the teamwork. What it took to get this canoe from one site to the next site, and that could be a 12-mile pull, or what Hanford likes to throw out there. We're going to be paddling for 28 miles, and you see that. The first warriors, whether it's the young ones to the oldest ones, they step up. They know they want to participate in that. That's that journey that they look for. It's like what we just kind of like the religion of our family. That's what we.
And you have women as well as men.
Yes.
And that's cool. And what ages are participating in doing the actual pulling on the?
Well, they can be as young as they want. I know when it comes to being on certain journey or certain points from destination to destination, we want to have the 12-year-olds 10-year-olds. I think 10 to 12 is a good age to where they can be out there with us. And then I become the father or the uncle to them, because then mom stays home, or mom's at the ground crew, and so she's going to meet us in the next destination by driving her car or traveling with the ground crew. So that's where you get that family essence of that, and these kids and mom or the parents feel comfortable leaving their son or daughter with myself and the crew out there. So
there's a role for everybody,
Yes.
and it's not like so much in our society where it's age segregated. It's like, oh, this is only for the old people. Oh, this is only for the kids. And this is community building.
for all that,
Along with that community, like we said, the community building itself, you have the support vessels that come with it, the safety aspects of it, because you put the family out there on that canoe, but then you have a supporting family member next to it, which are the support vessels, the ones that pay attention to the canoes. If they're going to be out there for 28 miles, that's 12 hours on the water. There's food, there's bathroom breaks, there's time that is set that if there's an emergency, we have a crew that's out there on that water to help take care of any safety.
So there's a lot of planning for this. I mean, this is not just let's go out in the water today. I mean, this is a big deal.
Yes.
And I appreciate the planning that goes into it and taking care of the food and the safety and all of that. How from year to year, the destination point changes. So this in 2016 is Nisqually, which is down the Nisqually River between Thurston County and Pierce County in Washington, for those watching the program who know our geography. But other destinations have happened. The next year is in Canada?
It's back in Canada we call it Cape Mudge. It's Campbell River. It's a big city up there, halfway up Vancouver Island. The Weewakai and the Weewakam Nation up there. Some people who are watching probably know where I'm talking about when I say Campbell River, because it's a really big fishing destination.
Yes.
So they're hosting in 2017.
Wow. You will eat well.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, to me, it's the way it's set. To be honored to go into such a neighborhood, the values between us, that continuing chapter from one tribe to the next band. It's always been that honor to travel.
How do they decide who gets to host? I mean, it's certainly it must be a tribal decision to say, yes, we're willing to be the host.
I want to say that when we decided to host, we had a couple councils before this. I want to say back in 2013, we were in Quinault. And everyone within the Canoe Journey families were doing, well, who's going to host next? Who's going to host next? And Hanford, I kind of spoke up and said, we're going to host. And it kind of threw our council off a little bit. but the thing is, we were asking for that to happen for our territory, for our purpose, to bring that culture, that tradition, because it's that time it needs to be held here. And we stepped up as the team because a lot of the families have seen us travel through from all the way up to Bella Bella and everything, and they know we're ready, and we're like you said. I mean, this is being aired here in June, and it's going to show in July. But the thing is, there's been a lot of meetings between here and there, and the Cape Mudge family, they've been into our meetings. And there was a Hanford and a Jeff that were there paying attention to our conversation on how to get this set and ready for their territory.
So a lot of relationship building and kind of passing a baton kind of thing.
And a lot of the families, the young families, we have set the goals for them to step up. So when do we need to get to practice the canoe and all this other stuff? Talking to me about it, and the canoe's Hanford. And I'm like, I'm the ground crew guy. If you were to ask me to set the canoe, get it out there today, get it done now, do it now. But Hanford would usually, he sets the rule. And so that's been passed down to a young man and a young lady right now. And we're setting them up for the next generation of family to participate in where we are right
Next 10 years, they get to run the journey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what happens.
Right,
People,
right.
people age, and somebody else comes along, and if they're prepared, then they can take it on.
Yep.
Now the journeys will start from different places at different times, depending on distance and so forth.
Yeah.
And how would people keep informed of the progress? Like if folks are coming from the Quinault area on the Pacific coast, or coming down from Bella Bella or Swinomish or something, how is there a way to track progress that somebody who's interested could find out?
Not really. I mean, what we have set up is a Travel Journeys Facebook page. As the hosting nation, we're administrators, and we just pass that administration on to the next host family. But we keep updated information. We're going to create a blog. I got some young travel members in our tribe that are going to create a blog for us, and that will keep information flowing. But there's also another 2014, they created a one feather app, and that one feather app was like a Facebook, but it was more of a native app that gave an area for canoe journeys to put updated information, pictures, where you're at, how's things going. So that was created in that way so that people could follow that, and that was as simple enough as on your smartphone that you could follow along. And we all come together in one area after a while, especially coming down into our Salish Sea here when they come through the straits. But when they get into, after they come through the strait there, they'll come into, of course, the southern Salish Sea. And so they'll start bottlenecking into one area, and that's Suquamish. And then you're able to, people are able to share information and pictures and, So, I mean, it's not a lot of detail around when they travel as far as being on the water. And we have planning meetings over the year. Then they come, they take down our information, they got our maps, the dates are all set for each stop. And so each canoe family that's traveling, they're able to follow along in that way as far as, they have the maps and information. And so.
Great. And again, I want to let folks know that paddletonisqually.com is a great source of information.
Yes.
Lots of links, lots of tabs you can do to see maps and who's involved,
Pictures,
and who's supporting it, and links to videos and whatnot. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah.
It's fun to visit from time to time. Tell us a bit about the arrival in Olympia on July 30th.
July 30th.
You'll come in at the Port of Olympia, and what do you have a time set?
Yes.
And when would that be on July 30th?
So the landing at Swantown Marina, by Swantown Marina, the Port of Olympia, this was set 2012, Squaxin did it. So landing in that area at, it's going to be about a 2 o'clock time frame. I mean, it's really tough to gauge time when canoes are traveling on the water. And, we travel, 5 miles an hour, and each destination's on a relative basis average 20 miles. So they're out there 5 hours a day. Coming down to the area, we plan on bringing them all in and rafting them up. So it'll be 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock kind of rafting and staging, and then we'll start right into the protocol. I know working with the Port of Olympia and the City of Olympia, they got the maps set out there as far as parking, shuttle runs. There'll be shuttle buses for people who park downtown Olympia. You're better off parking and either walking or finding a shuttle, because we're expecting anywhere from 18 to 25,000 people to be there on July 30th.
Wow. Well, we hope we can boost those numbers. If people watch this program, they'll get all jazzed up about it.
Get all excited about it. And that's, you could probably say that's the public. And we still have 6,000-7,000 canoe family members too on top of that travel. And so in a canoe, you got 10 seats. You got 2, 4, 6, 8. You got probably about, I shouldn't say 10 seats, I'm sorry, 10 people, and you got 5 to 6 seats, bench seats across. So you have on an average of 10 to 12 people in your canoe.
Yeah.
And then you got your relief crew out there on the chase boat or support boat, and you usually have about 10 there. So you have about 20 to 25 people per canoe, maybe sometimes
Yeah,
more.
and if you get 110 or 120 canoes, that's a lot of people.
And you got a couple thousand people right there.
When that comes into play, it's hospitality, how families together provide the hospitality as far as the food, the water, the safety aspect of it, because the volumes of family that you'll have not just on shore but on the water itself is what we look to take care of. That's it's been a big ticket item to make sure that's met for all the families.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of generosity.
There has been a lot of generosity, a lot of thank yous go up to a lot of the family members within the within the territory of Nisqually that has helped put their hand on this and make it happen for not just the city or the surrounding area, of Thurston County, but the tribes itself.
Yeah.
So.
And we've talked about the importance to the tribes for this event, this annual event, and all that's involved with it for culturally and so forth. And so it makes sense that some of the events and activities will be for tribal members only, or native peoples from wherever. But you have a number of things that are open to the public, and you're welcoming anybody to come and participate. Can you tell us about just a couple of those briefly?
So the open events that we do have, I mean, the whole protocol tent or site that we have on our reservation in Nisqually, it is located right off of 507, off the where the reservation is. And some of you who know where the reservation is we have a lot of construction going on out in front of our roadway with Department of Transportation. None of it had to do with Canoe Journey, but the widening of that area and what's available is the camping for our canoe families, but the public parking has about 3,000 stalls available, so the public can actually show up and witness some of the drumming and the singing, which we call cultural sharing. It'll be open to the public. So the arena that is set out there is a couple of 4 tents, 60 by 100 feet, that are going to have a couple of bleachers under there for seating, but you can bring your own chair to sit outside the tents, which would, we all pray for good sunshine. If it doesn't, we all blame Jeff because he's been talking about rain. So.
Washington weather is such a blessing.
But that time of August, August 1st to August 6th is one of those open.
Yeah,
it's an open event there. We do have one that we're setting aside for our nations, and that's the Medicine Creek Nation, along with our canoe families. On July 31st, we're going to do a Medicine Creek celebration. So I know you've asked about the fish wars and things like that. I'm pretty sure we're going to get into that later.
We'll cover that in just a moment.
But we have that day set aside that we're going to do an honoring there at the Nisqually Wildlife. Well, it's going to be called the Billy Frank Jr. Nisqually Wildlife Refuge.
Oh yeah, we lost him just recently.
Yeah, 2014. Yeah. So
a powerful person in the history of the whole region.
Yeah.
As well as history of the Nisqually Tribe.
Yep.
Along with that protocol site area, there's hospitality. A lot of our, again, going back to the days of traditional, the way we gather, we'll be having breakfast and dinner for all the families at that time. From the 1st through the 6th, we'll feed breakfast and dinner. And a lot of that is traditional foods that we have gathered, that we're going to gather. And so again, a lot of the hosting, a lot of the families that have donated a lot of that. We're gathering a lot of that, and we'll be preparing a lot of food.
Yeah. And you're kind of the key guy for that.
He's the guy.
Like I said, since I've been home, I have a culinary arts degree, and a lot of my things since I've been home, Hanford, I've hired Hanford at one time because I've been valued within the community to help to provide food, to know how to cook. That's what I learned down in Oregon as working for the Oregon Chef Society at the time. And then, like I said, since I've been home, coming home to provide that for family has been my gift.
Yeah.
May the cook be ornery and everything else, but hey, I'm going to make sure everybody within that arena, within that territory, when the protocol site, the landing site, hospitality is my key thing, because we were there for a cultural event. We are to take care of all family members.
Yeah, that's great. I wonder if we could talk for just a bit about the Nisqually Tribe itself. You're hosting Canoe Journey, and but like other tribes in our hemisphere, the whole Western Hemisphere, history goes back a long way. And could you say something about the early history of the Nisqually Tribe, and then what changed when white people invaded? Just something brief.
Something brief?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we won't be able to do this in real time. It's going to have to get summarized.
Right. Probably spend a couple days talking about our history and our people. And
But I just want to get the viewers grounded,
Nisqually?
especially for people who might not be from this area and don't know the history or culture.
the history of the culture. So,
But just briefly.
so there's a rich history there with our Nisqually people. Squally-Opsh, which means people of the river, and located at the mouth of the river where the wildlife refuge is right now, was pretty close to 11 bands or villages along there. And once they were relocated after the 1855 treaty, where it put us up there where you now have JBLM or Fort Lewis at the time. So that property there, condemned, and then, politically correct, they bought the land, but more or less kind of took the land from our people, and then put us where we are now. So where we are now, located off of 510 in between Yelm and Lacey, is an area of ours that we've called home now, but we were originally located down there at the mouth where the wildlife refuge is, or where JBLM is located, was another area of ours. And so that rich history you got there is, it stems from Lushai fighting for our right back in, the early 1850s.
A great chief, the last really traditional chief.
Great warrior chief that we had that stood up for his people and made sure that, we weren't put in an area that was not ours, and that's where they wanted to put us. And then, as we made our roots and continued with our way of life, we are hunters and gatherers and fishermen, and we're not farmers, and that's kind of what they wanted us as Nisqually people to be. I'm pretty sure that was how they wanted a lot of natives to be.
Oh yeah,
these farmers and settle down and not have
build
that
fences,
right?
Build fences,
raise your cows and stuff like that. That's not who the Squally-Opsh people were. And so the fish are our main staple of life and who we are. Of course, that would lead into the fish wars that happen also in that territory.
Yeah, I want to talk about that in just a moment.
So Nisqually is, again, that proud nation that we had here in this area that stood up and had a lot of followers that stood up with them and backed them. John Longmire, he's a settler in this area. Him and Lushai were friends and had a really close relationship. That stems from Yelm, the city of Yelm. Yelm is a prairie of grass that Lushai and the Nisquallies also utilized as an area of grazing his horses and things like that. It's a beautiful area that has camas bulbs of ours. That is another traditional food that we've gathered. But that whole territory right in that area too has a real rich connection to the Nisqually people. And the only reason why I know is, my family, my mom and my dad, and then my grandparents and great-grandparents and the life that I grew up in. I've gotten all this information and grew up in Yelm and got to see a lot of the territory in the area, and got to hear a lot of the stories as a young kid, and who we are. We are the 7th generation of the treaty signers. So when they signed the Treaty of 1855, this generation here, who we are, is that healing generation, and I believe that as far as the power that we have as Native people in the prayers. And this way of life, this heritage and this tradition that we have and carry on, as brothers here, me and Jeff and everybody in our tribe and our families is what gives us the strength to move forward and continue. So
I've known the McCloud family name for a long time. I mean, you like you say, you folks go way back.
Yeah.
And you folks have done so much, your whole family. for generations back has done so much for the people. I just want to mention about Leshai, the last really traditional chief, that the white government accused him of a crime and executed him, and just a couple of years ago the state legislature formally said that was a serious mistake and we should not have done that. So it's a long time waiting for some kind of justice out of that.
The exoneration, it happened 10 years ago?
Yes.
10 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't seem very long, but as for us, it's a big win, and it's a staple of what really happened back then.
Yeah, and it's powerful. There are a lot of allies who feel a deep sense of justice, commitment, justice values.
Yeah.
And said, finally, we got, that problem was, even though he was killed, at least the government finally apologized for making that horrible mistake.
Growing up off the reservation has been very, very enlightening, because listening to the stories that Hanford and the family brings forth, and those teachings, from what I feel and what I understand is what we protect from the mountain down through the river, historically, is what I believe in my tradition, my history. And from then to now, how I build upon that on a daily basis. I protect this.
Yeah.
This is what I protect.
And your shirt that says, don't forget the water.
Yes.
And you can tell us for those of us that don't read all of your lettering, because it's not the lettering that we grew up with.
As you can see, he's ready. He's ready for me to quote my, don't forget the water.
Yeah.
It
comes all the way down from the mountains, like
from
you
the
said.
mountains, because that's what the enriched, what the mountain brings to the families, not just the Leshai family, not just the McCloud family, but the families throughout the whole valley. Yeah. Now, together, again, you hear the seventh generation, how we have to step it up together to protect that, because we're losing it.
Yeah.
And that's what, again, what we're bringing to Canoe Journeys is what we do to protect in that continued way, the historical value.
Yeah, that's great. I want to mention just briefly the fish wars. Some people who are like of my generation or older will remember the early 70s. I was paying attention then in the early 70s, where there are traditional areas of fishing that you folks have done forever, and white fishermen were elbowing you out of the way, and the Washington State Department of Fisheries was actually destroying your boats because they didn't want you to get fish that they wanted to make sure that white folks got. And so this is referred to as the fish wars. And we finally ended up with a federal court decision. Can you tell us something about that?
I can tell you a little bit about my side of the story. I mean, my dad, Don McCloud Jr., and then my grandparents, Janet McCloud and Don McCloud Sr. Don McCloud is Billy Frank Jr.'s half brother.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that.
they have the same mom. So Angeline Tobin was my grandfather's mom, as long as Billy Frank's mom. Yeah. So the family of of that era of 1960s, when this war happened, my dad was 8 years old at the time. And the fight was the fact that this is our way of life. And the treaty states, as long as the grass grows and the river flows, you may hunt and gather and fish in your usual and accustomed areas. Yeah. Now, the state was saying that we only did it here, we didn't do it here. We did it here, but you didn't do it here. And so, growing up with that history, as far as, what my grandma taught me, because my grandma taught me about sovereignty and who we are as a sovereign nation. And I know Uncle Billy did a lot. He did a lot of great work for all nations in this Salish Sea. And seeing that work done over time, was a great thing. And then you had, what instilled upon me from my grandparents and through my dad and them also, was that, we need to maintain this way of life. We need to use it or we'll lose it. Because that's kind of how the federal government looked at us. Well, you're not using that, so we're just taking it back from you. Well, you're not doing that, so I guess you don't need to do this anymore. And that lettering and that language in that treaty, and some of my information is the fact that my ancestors didn't know the language of the treaty.
Right.
So how could they sit here and have that conversation with someone about the language of that treaty? Is this what you did? Is this where you fished? Now you fast forward 7 generations in this generation, you know, as we continue to move forward on who we are as Native people, that not only that language, but that conversation we need to be a part of. And that's kind of how we see it now, is that, you know, what our ancestors of 1855, 1970, we're in 2016 going into 2020, you know, and so what's there as far as fish, as far as, you know, that way of life, you know, and it's not just on us as Native people, but it's on everybody here in this waterway. And that was Uncle's way of you know, putting it, you know.
Well, Billy Frank did such a wonderful job of communicating the sense of that and helping white folks understand and appreciate and value that. I mean, he was a great bridge in helping with some healing that we needed. And I don't know if you remember Carol Burns, who made the documentary film, As Long as the Rivers Run. She was actually one of the founders of TCTV, and she mentioned the opportunity when it was just going to be starting. She mentioned the opportunity of having a TV series for the Olympia FOR, which she was part of. And I said, sure, I'd be happy to work on that. So this was back in the 80s.
Wow,
and
early 80s,
So Carol Burns was the reason why we're here right now taping this program. So it comes around. The stuff comes around.
It does.
This is great.
It's great.
I know if people want to learn more about the Nisqually history, culture, and activities, you have a website, www.nisqually-nsn.gov. So nisqually-nsn.gov. It has a lot of information there. And that's a good source. What else would you like our viewers to know about current issues, current realities of the Native people in our region, not limited to Nisqually, but what else would you like people to know about issues, concerns?
The way that the tribes have stepped it up since the word casino, and how it's valued in such a different way. How, again, you heard, again, the 7th generation family learning to work with that dollar bill to bring not just the culture back into play, but you hear the protection of their historical value. Again, we talk about our brother Billy Frank. There's a lot of those past languages that the younger generation has to learn to get into and bring that value up into play to where it has to be now, to where, you know, like I said, it's updating. It's updating every single time. And again, that's what I've witnessed since I've been home, since '87, noticing how the protection of the salmon, now it's the mountain, it's all these together, and having that casino, the funding that is there to help the tribes bring that strength.
And gambling actually was a traditional part of Native life in a number of parts of this country.
You want to say gambling is a comfort zone between both sides. There's always been that comforting. There's a value in it, and so why not hold on to it? And so, yeah, there's traditional. There's the stick games. There's a few other ways to gamble, but again, it's something. Again, society don'ts. It's okay. Well, we have to figure out a way together to comfort that, and that is, like I said, right now the casinos. So, I don't know if Hanford could.
Well, there's a strong value with that aspect of it also, as far as the casinos and the smoke shops and the gas stations that, you know, a lot of tribes and a lot of natives are operating. Yet, you know, as Native people or indigenous to this area, that cultural, historical value is there. And how it was explained to me growing up was the fact that it'll never be lost. We are the ones that get lost in this society. So that root will always be there for you. That, you know, that tree will always stand there.
Yeah.
That water will always flow.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, as human beings, we decide to destroy all that.
Yeah.
But it's that connection that we have to this way of life that a lot of people kind of get misconstrued about. I don't know if I said that correctly, but about, you know, do we still are involved in that kind of stuff? And we are. There is a strong percentage of our community that love to go out and gather. I mean, I've been a basket weaver ever since I was 12. My mom taught me. I do some carving, you know, I do. But my thing is being out there gathering the materials, because that's why the materials are there. That's why the plants are there.
Yeah.
That's why the trees that we have, the cedar tree, the tree of life, you know, that's why we have all that.
Yeah.
You know, and so that purpose, like I said, is if we don't use it, we'll lose it.
Yeah.
And if we overuse it, we'll also lose it.
Yeah.
So there's that middle piece in there that you want to always make sure to maintain. And we do that still as Native people, just so
it's
you know,
sustainability.
Yeah.
It's a core value. Well, and I appreciate during this interview a number of times when Jeff has talked about coming home. I mean, he's back with the tribe where he has some rootedness, and there's a sense that you've expressed several times about coming home and reconnecting and building from that. And that's just so good. I know it's a concern for a lot of folks who end up in the cities.
Yeah.
And kind of lose the rootedness, and that can be hard to get.
We see a lot of witnessing when us, the Journey family, comes through towns, and we see other natives, and we let them know we're here for the Canoe Journey, and you hear, what's that about?
Yeah.
And then we fall into the story with them to kind of bring them to ground.
Yeah.
To ground themselves. Oh yeah, that's so. We bring a lot of that with us, so that's what Journey's bringing home here.
Yeah. So I know the urban Indian experience is a huge. It's been a huge problem, but it would also have some huge potential about reconnecting people with who they are and where they're from. And what future would you folks be looking at? I mean, if I know we've talked about the rootedness and the meaning and all of this. Is there anything else that we haven't said about projecting into the future? Or if we've covered it, that's fine.
We covered
it's been probably implicit in what we've said. The canoe journey can happen only if a good number of people help in a variety of ways, and each of you is doing a number of things. How could non-native people help with any aspect of the canoe journey, Jeff?
Volunteering. Volunteering is a big aspect within any setting of culture, because it's what you bring to the table here, and how you perceive it out to the family that you're there, whether it's feeding, whether it's the hospitality. Volunteering is such a gift, because it's of wealth, of giving your time, your strength, to bring that into like I said, the Journey Way. I mean, right now I do believe we have just a little over 2,000 volunteers coming into our home to help, because we're taking care of just a little over 6,500 people on a daily basis, and feeding, and of course we're going to have the laundries, and we have events going on, and so it's going to take a good strength of family members volunteering to bring that together. We have such a good grasp on putting it together, and again, reaching out within the communities, the surrounding communities, to ask for that help. And it's been such a blessing. I'm not overwhelmed, but I'm happy and blessed the fact that they're coming.
I saw a list on one of the websites I looked at. It might have been Paddleton Nisqually, where it says, you know, how can people volunteer and help? And they had just a big list, helping with parking, helping with, you know, tent setup, and on and on. I mean, a big list of things.
Huge list.
So there should be some way on the PaddletonNisqually.com website for somebody to find a way to plug in and offer their help.
registration form online that's digital where you can actually fill it out there.
That's right. That's what they call it, registration form.
Yeah,
That
so
was what
that registration form is
yes.
there.
Online.
Yes,
online.
yeah.
And
Digital.
Anita would say online.
We got a volunteer coordinator
Yeah.
who's
Anita?
she's
Yeah.
she's creating a database so that way, of course, when you get 5,000 volunteers, you have a schedule set up for them, and then they can help with the parking down at the parking lot, or they can help with green team, recycle,
Yeah.
reuse. Tacoma, don't forget the water. The theme is, of course, about the water, and in this area, there's a lot of rich water that we have. So we are providing, in a lot of areas, they're providing the stainless steel reusable water bottles for that. So we're getting away from a lot of things because of this journey and what it brings. And those areas of the green team volunteering is a really big area because of all the food that's going to be provided also, and then the food waste and things like that we have. Yeah. So there's a whole area of volunteering that's welcomed.
So visit paddletonisqually.com
Yes.
and then look for the registration form
You'll see
to
a
volunteer.
registration form.
Yeah.
Digitally, I think it's been, of course, redone a few times now with our IT department at the tribe, but I'm pretty sure it's set right now where you can do it online, and it'll go right into a database for us.
I didn't fill it out, but I did see it just
You haven't
either
filled
this
it-
morning or
You haven't filled it out
yesterday.
yet. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. Thank you for the nudge.
Yes.
And I did work with Anita in preparing for this program a bit. Are there other sources of information? I know we've got a couple of websites that are really good that we've mentioned already, and that we'll mention again at the in the closing credits. We certainly paddletonisqually.com. There's WashingtonHistoryOnline.org and a /leschi/index.htm. We'll have that at the end of the program. And for the Nisqually Tribe, it's Nisqually-nsn.gov. Are there other information sources?
YouTube. You get on the YouTube, and I know a lot of people are on YouTube. Search tag Canoe Journey or Tribal Journeys.
Yes, I've seen a number of
a number of videos will pop
there.
up if you want to just.
They're fun.
Yeah. We got a couple on there. I know I've created a couple under my name, Hanford McCloud, but I think it's also under the Nisqually Tribe that you can pull up those keywords.
Yeah.
And a lot of videos will pop up that we've created. Volunteer video. We've created just a few Canoe Journey videos in our past journeys. So YouTube is another good place to surf and watch some videos.
Yeah, and some of them refer to the protocol.
Yeah.
Which is, tell us because that's in the title of these, and I watched several of those. Tell us what you've talked about the protocol.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about.
Protocol is a manner of when you approach and you do the handshake as a protocol, and when you meet. The tribes do a manner, and the nations do a manner of protocol as a way of, we sing the songs before we come into a house, and that song will relate to who we are as that nation. So protocol is a place set where they can come in and share these traditional songs and dances, and then we'll have an area there also where we'll ask for cameras and video cameras to be turned off if these songs are coming out with a mask. So a mask, a traditional dance, a traditional song, stuff like that. And they do come out during these times of the year when we have these Canoe Journey protocol area. And so but it's one way of getting people to pay attention. And our people too, right? Because we're so busy with, we'll just record it and watch it later, or someone can record it for you. This event is going to be live streamed all 6 days. We're going to have a live stream venue set up. We're working on that right now.
Wow.
So that'll give more people to watch it outside their home also.
Yeah.
But if you want to see it and to remember it, you really want to just pay attention. That's the way of getting people to pay. So protocol is set in that way. But protocol and tradition are like the same thing, right? You have the traditional gathering of the family for Easter or Christmas or Thanksgiving. That's the kind of tradition that we see our people doing, and this is one of those traditions. And it's just us coming together and celebrating, you know, Tacoma, for example,
yeah.
and celebrating, you know, this aspect of life. You know, water, without water, we wouldn't be here. You know, so
Protect
that
the
water
water,
is very
yes.
vital.
Yeah.
And we're all fighting the coal trains and the oil trains here.
Yes.
We're going to have those venues set up there also. I mean, down at our youth center that's available, that we've kept that place available for those certain events like that. We're going to have speakers come in, talk about climate change. We're going to have, I mean, just that area is going to be set there also for that. But youth activities will go on there also. You know, we'll have basketball tournaments, 3-on-3, just for kids to, of course, you can't always keep your kids in the protocol tent to pay attention, right? So to get some of that energy out, we have these events set up also for youth. So,
Yeah, great.
I mean, it's going to be awesome. And protocol is that way
great.
of life that we all have, pretty
Yeah.
much. You know, when you meet an elder and you know sit down or so.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to have this opportunity to
Thank
share
you.
with you folks
Appreciate
and you
it.
sharing with the viewers.
Appreciate
when,
the time.
When the Olympia Fellowship of Reconciliation holds our weekly vigils for peace and nonviolence and human rights, one of the signs we often hold says, all people are one human family. And as I was preparing for this thing, I thought, this is kind of a message that we have here, certainly among the families
Yes.
regionally, but also the larger human family that we're all delighted to be a part of. So the past hour has helped us understand this in a richer, more meaningful way with people who have been here long before the white folks came and messed up some things. So I want to thank Hanford and McCloud, and I want to thank Jeff Choke for being our guest during this interview and sharing insights and information about the 2016 Paddle to Nisqually, this year's regional canoe journey that will end in Olympia at the end of July and be the guests of the Nisqually Tribe. I encourage everybody to participate when the 2016 canoe journey arrives in Olympia on July 30th in the afternoon, and I encourage you to visit the websites that we've mentioned and that we will list again in our closing credits. You can get information about a wide variety of issues related to peace, social justice, nonviolence, and human rights by contacting the Olympia Fellowship of Reconciliation, 360-491-9093, www.olympiafor.org. We are all one human family. We all share one planet. We can create a better world, but we all have to work at it. And the world needs what you can offer. Thank you.